Hello,
Hello
and
and
welcome
welcome to
to
the course of History Wall Chart presented to you by Plus Prameshi Library. So here you can see this wall chart which is available to you on Plus Pramesh Library's website or on Amazon or Flipkart. I've already explained you how this particular wall chart looks like because the history starts from ancient and it goes till modern. So in that, along with this wall chart, we are providing you videos on YouTube whereon we are explaining the entire history of India starting from ancient, going till medieval, and then also covering the modern India. So this is your one-stop solution for history. Now, moving forward from where we left last time, before that, this is your mentor for the course. My name is Supriya Singhal, and here you can have some information about me, and you can also connect to me via Instagram. So, there by the name of Crispy Stories, you can find me and then you can connect with me. So we covered till 707, which I told you as the year when Aurangzeb died. Okay, and after this, I told you the entire geography, the history of Mughal Empire is going to change. Until now, where Mughal Empire was actually a very strong, very powerful empire, you will feel that now after this 1707, Mughal Empire will start actually declining. It will start breaking, and that's when you will realize that one Mughal empire gave way to so many other empires. So there was Mysore, there was Hyderabad, there was Carnatic, there was Travancore, there was Sikhs in the northwestern region, there was Rajputanas, then there was Bengal, okay, then there was Awadh, there was Rohilkhand. So you will realize that this all areas were under direct or indirect control of Mughal Empire. But after the death of Aurangzeb, these all areas actually got separated. So that's why I'm repeatedly telling you 1707 is an important year. Okay. So after the death of Aurangzeb, you will realize that Mughal Empire now falls under the Bahadur Shah I. Okay. Now, after, how do you remember so many emperors? Okay. Specifically after Aurangzeb. Because till Aurangzeb, it's easy to remember. Babar, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shahjahan, Aurangzeb. So there are six. But after Aurangzeb, how do you remember? So you remember that Mughal Empire after Aurangzeb is a story from Bahadur Shah I to Bahadur Shah Zafar. So all the emperors in the Mughal Empire will after Aurangzeb will be starting from Bahadur Shah I, and then the last emperor will be Bahadur Shah Zafar, the same person under whom you will find 1857 revolt happening. Okay. 1857 revolt happening. Okay. So understood the story from Bahadur Shah I to Bahadur Shah Zafar, and in between you will find many rulers coming and going because it's a huge empire. The political stability is an issue. Nobles have become stronger. There are internal factions, Turanis, Afghanis, Iranis fighting amongst themselves and wanting to have some power. There are independent bankers, there are ulemas who are also wanting to control the empire. So all these factions are making it difficult to have one strong ruler who can control the entire empire. So that is why after him, like after Aurangzeb, you will find the rulers are changing very frequently. Okay, so imagine the rule established in 1526 till 1707 saw only 6 rulers, but after 1707 to 1857 you will find more than 12 to 13 rulers have come. In just 200 years, while one had six rulers, another 200 years, less than 100 years actually, 200 years, you will find more than 12 13 rulers coming and going. That means political instability. Okay, so now what we'll do is, as and when the Mughal emperor is the name is coming, I'll tell you that he or she is a Mughal emperor right now. Okay, so June 1707 there is a battle of Jajau in which Azam is defeated, and then that's when you will find that ACC here means accession. Accession means who is coming on the throne next, like who has taken the power now. So now the ruler is Bahadur Shah I, or he's also called as Shah Alam I. Okay, and he just dies in 5 years. So basically he comes in 1707 and he dies in 1712. Okay, but simultaneously we also know there is Maratha Empire. So hence you will find that this time period, okay, we will be studying simultaneously what is happening in Mughal Empire and also what is happening in the Maratha Empire. Okay, a Maratha kingdom. So 1707 to 49 you will find that Marathas are within a stable rule of Shahu. Okay, and Shahu has been basically given the name of Chhatrapati. Just like we had Chhatrapati Shivaji, Shahu has also been given the name of Chhatrapati. In 1710, we will find that now we have a Sikhs rebellion also coming in picture. That means what? So in Bahadur Shah I's time only you will find that now Sikhs have started revolting and there is a Sikh rebellion happening. After Bahadur Shah, so basically there is Aurangzeb. After Aurangzeb, it's Bahadur Shah for 5 years. Bahadur Shah won, okay. And after Bahadur Shah, who becomes the ruler? Jahandar Shah, okay. So here you can see Jahandar Shah. So he is there for a year, okay, 1712 to 1713. After Jahandar Shah, you will find there is accession of Farrukh Siyar, okay. And Farrukh Siyar is pretty famous. If you would have studied modern history, you would have studied Britishers. If you would have studied Britishers, you must have studied Farrukh Siyar also. Okay. So Bahadur Shah is the first one. Second is Jahandar Shah. Third is Farrukh Siyar. So Farrukh Siyar is coming to throne on in 1713. At the same time, you will find that Balaji Vishwanath is promoted as the Peshwa. But who is the ruler of Marathas? Marathas ruler is still Shahu. But who has become the Peshwa? Balaji Vishwanath. Okay. Then you will find that in 1719, Farrukh Siyar was murdered. Okay, so he came to throne on 1713, murdered in 1719, and then you will find that there is another ruler coming, the fourth ruler coming in picture, whose name is Muhammad Shah. And this Muhammad Shah is also famously known as Rangila. Okay, not the movie of Ramla Matorgarh, but Rangila. So Rangila is a name given to Muhammad Shah. Why? Because of his rang birangi habits. That he was more busy in luxury, in that extravagant life of dancing and singing and drinking, etc. Of the basically, how a ruler lives, basically that life. And he was not much interested in the administrative affairs. And that is why he is called as the Rangila. Okay, never forget it. So now after Farrukh Siyar, who is the fourth ruler? Muhammad Shah. And at the same time, we will find from 1720 to 40, now Baji Rao I has become the Peshwa. So after Balaji Vishwanath, who is it? Baji Rao I. Okay. And this Baji Rao I is actually going for extensive expansion of the Maratha Empire. Under him, you will find there is so much raids happening, especially in the northern territories and northward areas, that Marathas have actually consolidated and increased their power. Okay. Then in 1721, Balaji Vishwanath is made as the in charge of the army, and 1724. So Sikhs have already started revolting, and now you will find that in 1724 Hyderabad has declared itself independent. Now who is who is ruling in Hyderabad? Nizam. Okay, and who is the one who established Hyderabad? Nizam ul Mulk, or also called as Asaf Jahan. Okay, should I write the name? So I'll write the name here itself. So it is Asaf Jahan, also called as Nizam ul Mulk. Okay, and he is the one who establishes an independent kingdom of Hyderabad. Actually, he was made as the governor, okay, of this particular area. But as I already told you, that this time the Mughal Empire ruler is Muhammad Shah, and Muhammad Shah is not interested in administrative affairs, and Asaf Jahan, you can say, gets irritated and also sees it as an opportunity to basically have a more consolidation of power in his hands for the Hyderabad region. And that is why, so he never writes to Muhammad Shah saying that I am independent, but he runs the Hyderabad region independently, like independent of telling decisions, every decisions, and writing to Muhammad Shah about what decision is going to take. So he is little independent from the Muhammad Shah. So Muhammad Shah time, remember, Rangila is not paying attention to administration, and that is when you will find that the empire of Hyderabad or the kingdom of Hyderabad got established. Okay. At the same time, you will find even Awadh became independent. Okay. So there's in south you have Hyderabad, in north you have Awadh region. Okay. Now at the same time, I already told you Marathas are also expanding. So Marathas have now basically taken control of Malwas. Okay, the Malwa region. Then after this, you will find basically there is an like during the Muhammad Shah times only, I told you that there are basically invasions from northwest happening, and that is when you will find that in 1739 Nadir Shah, he plunders Delhi. So he comes to Delhi, he plunders Delhi, he loots Delhi, and he takes away the wealth. He is not interested in actually ruling over Delhi, but only plundering it. Okay. And you will find in between of this time 1770s etc. Balaji Rao, okay, please remember these are different names. There is Balaji Vishwanath, there is Baji Rao 1, and then there is Balaji Rao. Okay, now Balaji Rao has basically become the Peshwa, and the Shahu, who was the ruler of the Maratha Empire, is dead. And then you will find that Ram Raja has been coronated as Chhatrapati in 1749. So I know it's a little bit complicated, but you need to understand now the strong empire of Mughal is not existing. Okay, the empire has become weak. So the other forces and other empires must be establishing, they must be declaring independence, and they must be expanding. So one of the empires is Marathas, other empires are Hyderabad, Sikhs, Awadh, and then you will find even Bengal, Rajputanas, all of these also coming in picture. Then in 1740 you have independence of Bengal, as I told you, because again Muhammad Shah is not interested in administration. When Hyderabad is separated, Awadh has separated, so now comes the turn of Bengal. So who establishes Bengal? It is Murshid Ali Wardi Khan and Murshid Quli Khan. So these are two people who basically wanted independence of Bengal and wanted to run them independently. Now how is basically a Sikh independence different from Awadh, Hyderabad or Bengal independence? Is the fact that Sikhs declared themselves independence. They were not going to pay any tribute to the Mughal ruler. They were not going to associate or accept the sovereignty of the Mughal rulers, and they were going to go for a revolt or fight with Mughal ruler if the Mughal ruler tries to basically capture their territory. But how is Awadh, Bengal or Nizam region different, or Hyderabad region different? Because these three are running their particular areas or particular kingdoms separately, but they have not declared full independence. They still accept the sovereignty of Mughal Empire. They still send some money as a, you say, right, as a dedication to the ruler, and also basically tell little about their decisions, and also accept the orders from the Mughal Empire. But more or less they have actually turned independent. Okay, so that is why I am saying, please, so these are called as the successor states, while Sikhs are called as the rebel states. So that is the difference. Sikhs are called as the rebel states. Similarly, Jats are called as the rebel states. Okay, because these are the states which are rebelling the Mughal Empire, not wanting to accept their sovereignty, and also wanting to expand their empire at the behest of Mughal Empire. But are Bengal, Hyderabad and Awadh doing it? No. They just want to control whatever they have. They don't want to expand the empire, but just have a little bit of independence. Okay. Then after this you will find in 1744 Maratha started invading Bengal region, and they have already reached till Odisha, and they are successful in conquesting Odisha. Now this is a time when Europeans are also there in the Indian society. So 1746 is the time you will find that there are actually, so Anglo-French rivalry is a very common word used in modern history. So Anglo-French rivalry refers to the rivalry between Anglo and French, between the Britishers and the French people, because both of these parties had only one ambition: to expand their control, to expand their trade, and to earn more and more profits. And since both of them wanted India and India's commodity for their own profit, they were competing against each other. And Anglo-French rivalry came about in all those regions where either English or French was strong. Okay, so in Bengal also there was Anglo-French rivalry. In Mysore region also there was Anglo-French rivalry. In Hyderabad region, Carnatic region also there was Anglo-French rivalry. And that is why you have so many wars. So you have Anglo-Mysore wars, you have Carnatic wars, then you have Bengal, Battle of Buxar, Battle of Plassey, etc. happening in the Bengal region. In all these regions, if you find all these wars which are happening, they are not only the Anglo wars, they are somewhere Anglo-French rivalry. So this war that you can see where French are capturing Madras, this is the indication of starting of Anglo-Carnatic wars. Okay, can you write the word Anglo-Carnatic war, or let me just write it so that where is it? Yeah, so I'll just write it here. Again, what do I mean by this? Okay, so what are we referring to? We are referring to Anglo-Carnatic wars. And how many Anglo-Carnatic wars are there? 3. And when do they happen? One is happening around 1946. then other is happening around 1956, and then other is happening around 1963. Okay, I am just writing a very average year. I'm not telling you the starting or ending year, just some year when they might be happening in or around that particular time, because this is how you remember history. Okay, so this is the first Anglo-Carnatic War, this is second Anglo-Carnatic War, and this is third Anglo-Carnatic War. Now, because these three Carnatic wars are happening, but this is actually Anglo-French rivalry. Okay, why? Because the first Carnatic War happens because of the Anglo-French rivalry that existed outside. Okay, that is why you will find there is a treaty also happening here, which is called as Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. Okay, I know it's a basically what happens is, see, English and French both are present in India, and similarly English and French, they are also present during this time in what region? In USA region. So USA has not attained independence now, they will be attaining independence in 1773. Okay, that is much before the Anglo-Carnatic, much after the Anglo-Carnatic wars have already finished. So till 1773 you will find Anglo-British and French fighting for their territories in Indian region also and in the USA region also. Okay, so in the USA region what is happening? English are trying to have more control. In the Indian region, French are trying to have more control. So French try to capture Madras, which is basically, you can say, a stronger hold of English people, and basically and this is where you will find that Anglo-French rivalry has broken out, because it was already happening in Canada, and this is when these Anglo-French parties, they decide through Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle that French, whatever territories they have captured right now in India, they will return it back to the English, and English will return their captured territories of US and Canada region back to France. So this is how this treaty actually, brings them back to the status quo position. Okay, so that is why here you can see 1746 to 48 is the time when first Carnatic War is happening, and I also told you the treaty that is signed. Okay, after this time you will find that Muhammad Shah or the Rangila has died, which was the fourth Mughal empire, Mughal ruler after Bahadur Shah I. Then came the Jahandar Shah, then came Farooq Siyar, and then came Muhammad Shah. So now who is the fifth one? The fifth ruler is Ahmad Shah. And how do you remember who came after Muhammad Shah? See, Muhammad Shah is the one who is not actually focusing on administration, but after, and in his time you have a Nadir Shah invasion also, but after him came Ahmad Shah, during whose time there is Ahmad Abdali's invasion. So this is how you remember, Ahmad versus Ahmad. Okay, this is how I also remembered it. So now after Muhammad Shah, who is acceding to the Mughal empire throne? It is Ahmad Shah of Delhi. Okay, and here only can you see in 1748, as soon as he acceded the throne, there is invasion by Ahmad Shah Abdali. So this Ahmad Shah and this Ahmad Shah are different. This Ahmad Shah Abdali is coming from outside, plundering, looting and going back again. Okay, and he is the one, Ahmad Shah Abdali is the one during whose time you will find there is another battle also happening, but that is later. Okay, and that is when you will find that invasion of Ahmad Shah Abdali is happening. Now, at the same time, I told you, right, 1756, like right about this time, 1755 or 1754 is the basically second Carnatic War time. So, exact date is 1748 to 1754, okay, and second Carnatic War, you will find that during this time, Ahmad Shah has been replaced by Alamgir II now, okay, and this is when Ahmad Shah Abdali is again attacking and sacking Delhi, and after this, 1763, remember this time 1756 to 63 is a third Carnatic War that is taking place. Okay, and third Carnatic War also ends with some treaty, which is called as the Treaty of Paris. Okay, wherein the Anglo-French rivalry finally comes to stop. Okay, and these both parties achieve a status quo position. But in this treaty, actually what happens, English have defeated French, and now French cannot expand their empire in India because they have lost the battle, and French now promise to remain in a very small region of Puducherry. Okay, see, I know that these wars are supposed to be read, but since it's a discussion of wall chart, I cannot be explaining every event in detail. So what I am giving you is a holistic picture, but we have come up with separate courses for modern history, for ancient history, for medieval history, discussion of class 11th books of NCRTs as well as Tamil Nadu. So I urgently request you to please go and watch those lectures so that all of your information is consolidated. This is just a comprehensive course for history. Okay, so first Carnatic War, Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. The second Carnatic War, remember it's happening between the basically ruler of Arcot and Carnatic, And the third Carnatic War is happening again between English and French, ending with the Treaty of Paris, wherein finally French have been defeated very badly. English have taken a promise from French that they will not be expanding their empire. They will only be remaining in India till on the terms and conditions of what Britishers decide. Okay. So this is how is the chronology of 3 Carnatic Wars going. And how is the chronology of Mughal empires? Bahadur Shah 1, Jahandar Shah, Farooq Siyar, Muhammad Shah, Ahmad Shah, and then comes the Alamgir 2. Okay.